And a part of what these cults are doing to make the targets look insane is, as they abuse, if the targets have disabled children or disabled adults that they care for, a part of what they're doing, and this is what they are doing to me, I'm going to, like I said, as this persists, I will continue to share. And they think that because of the nature of the situation that I'm in, that I won't share, but I will. I'll share. Because once again, these populations, I mean, I'm being targeted, but the highlight that I'm highlighting for this video is what they do to the disabled. So I'm going to start telling more about the energy shifts with my son. And I'm going to start telling more about how these cult individuals and their employees, how that's affecting and how they hide it, why the disabled is targeted, and because it's easily hidden behind their air quote so-called disability. Because all of their behavior, all of their outburst, all of their whatever manifests on a differently abled or a disabled person is automatically classified under their disability. So whether it is they get sick, whether it is they are Tourette's, whether it is they any and everything is going to be automatically classified as something that correlates with the fact that they are disabled. And that's why these cults do it, on top of the fact of the pure energy that disabled people have and which they harvest. Though that they are pretending like they're not into this stuff, they don't do this stuff, the target who tells about this stuff is just wanting attention. They're just sad. They're just mad. They're just salty. They're just all kinds of things. They're just lazy. They're just looking for pity. And these are all very easy to convince people of, which is why they do that. They also do it more. They amp what they do to these disabled when they're losing. When they're starting to get sick, when they're starting to lose money, when they're starting to lose opportunities, when they're starting to get exposed or they're afraid of it. Because remember, a lot of what they're doing is bullying. This is non-touch bullying activity. This is the new age style of being a bully. This is the bully style for those who are too cowardly to bully physically. Those who are afraid of being seen as a bully but are a bully. Those who don't want to lose their positions, their jobs, their statuses, so they have to pretend to not be a bully. So these are people who bully disabled people. They possibly bullied disabled people when they were young. These are people who, in some cases, feel like the disabled are invalids. And so why not abuse them, their sexual energy, astral project them, do sex rituals on them to harvest energy? Why not sacrifice them to archons? Why not sacrifice them so that I could become a famous boxer? This is not even my child, but why not sacrifice someone else's child so that I can be famous, so that I can get more money? And it'll just look like something was wrong with them. How about I sacrifice somebody else's disabled child so that I can be famous? I already sacrificed my own nephew, my own niece. Why not sacrifice them and they'll never know it? They'll never know. Some of the disabilities might very well be due to MK Ultra, MK Naomi, and to these toxic motherfuckers sacrificing other people's children. So then these people end up looking autistic and looking schizophrenic and displaying, showing, displaying those signs, displaying those characteristic traits that would say such, and no one would know the otherwise. Everyone would think that this is just a generational curse. This is just something they inherited. This is just one of those million things that happens to happen to everyone. This is also why they do this, because again, on the surface, it's going to still have this appearance like this is just, this is what they did to me and my son is what they're doing, but this is what they do. Okay? They did rituals on him last night, early this morning. But they did rituals yesterday. These people are doing rituals daily. And because of the fact that we have restricted access to people, they have to become more and more creative to get the more up close and personal action in our biofield, okay, that allows them to do more stuff when they're not in our biofield. So this is why people seek to always know the dwelling space, to pay somebody to do shit they don't have no business doing, whether that is enter in a dwelling place under the guise of blah, 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 place stuff in those dwelling places, grab stuff from those dwelling places so that they can do, hopefully, to get the more effects to do their rituals. This is why if it's being done on a grander scale, when it's being done on a grander scale and they're that obsessed to where they have their employees, which are also Lyft and Uber drivers, like I said, they are also medical workers. They are also, we have to accept that these people, it's not that they just are sitting in their lodges somewhere with their fucking weird ass robes on and shit in a dark room. Sure, they do those things. Okay, they do those things, but they are working and operating. This is how they're getting, some of this stuff is people being initiated into cults. They've been putting bounty on me and my son's head. This is why we have been hunted down by several radical groups, from white supremacist groups, motorcycle gangs, Masons, Eastern Stars, from one extreme radical group to the next. Because of bounty. This is why they always seek to schmooze with leadership. These are people who, if they didn't have power, they look to connect to it. They look to become very close to leadership so that they can exploit that relationship. So they're going to be befriending police officers, they're going to be befriending lawyers, doctors, they're going to be befriending managers of properties, owners of properties, anybody who has access to or some type of connection to their specified targets. But they do that so that they can exploit those connections. Oh, can you get this person on a watch list? Let's create a report. Let's create what's necessary so that we can get them on a watch list. And if we can get them on a watch list illegally, then we can then utilize the finances and the funding for the fusion centers where we're not having to foot the bill entirely ourselves. And then we could have our cult members be hired into these fusion centers. And so we can save some money and have our cult members to get hired by these fusion centers, which would give them the access to do the things that we want them to do. They can follow the target around, and we don't have to foot the bill entirely. That is what they're doing to me and my son and many, many, many others. And this is why it's easily done, because of the fact that it is fusing the money of the corrupt cults on top of the corrupt fusion center operations and the funding that is being allocated for that. So to the people who would say that that's a lot of money, yeah, and a lot of money is being easily provided because these cults have it. They have it, and where they lack it or it starts to dwindle, this is where the Fusion Center program, the MK Ultra, MK Naomi, getting the target put on a watch list illegally, this is where that comes into play to help out financially. Because then the fusion center people could at least serve as informants so that they are getting the information to give to the cult member spellcaster motherfuckers. So their security guards are informants. They inform, and then the information is given to the cult so that they can blah, blah, blah. Whether it is taking pictures so that the cult can know what's going on, the practitioner so they can know what's taking effect, what isn't. They ask them certain questions so that, you know, in terms of the target, are they sick? What did they look like? What are they saying? Oh, they just seem confused. They seem this, so that they can try to, this is them trying to measure all of their spell work without telling the people that they have hired in these makeshift private investigating companies. These corrupt so-called private investigator. I'm a surveillancer. I have a legitimate job, but I don't. Okay? This is how that works. They gather the data, they gather the pictures. How did that person respond? What did that person do? Did you say this phrase? And what was the response? Did you do this? And blah, blah, blah. All of that is data to gauge a few things. If their psychological warfare tactics are working, but also if their spell work is working, and so that they can adjust what they're doing accordingly. And then so that they can also preemptive continue to do their false reporting. But this kind of stuff has been going on a very long time. A long time, baby. And the sad part is nobody cares about any of these disabled people. Nobody does. With all of them, you know what? They're just a dollar. They're just dollars and cents on a ledger. In some cases, it's what they're vamping for. They want their energy as well as their social security. That's all they care about. That's all they care. If they care at all. If at all. They really don't. Some of them are sadistic and they like the energy pumping that they get off of terrorizing these disabled populations. This is why you will see them narcissistic smirks when they're terrorizing disabled people in public. Yeah, these highfalutin so-called decent niggas and bitches in the Americas. While driving around in Teslas and Escalades and Lincolns and all that. they secretly get high off of that. Sometimes, the mask are slipping off because they be trying to cover it up. But sometimes that evil that's in them and on them can't be contained. I catch it all the time when they try to be, shading face, acting like they're not, but knowing what they're doing. And I catch it, I'll see a glimpse, that mask gone. They also utilize, what they're doing to these disabled people is to torture the target, is to torture them. This is just another ploy and tactic to wear them out as well. They use the target to be a distraction because they essentially began to puppeteer these disabled people because they don't have any defenses, especially as they become adults. I mean, they're doing stuff when they're young too, but especially as they become adults, they're using that because the target is going to be what? If the target has to be around them nonstop. So this is to, once again, pull the target out of their own energy, to pull the focus from the target to have to be excessively trying to care for. Because listen, how is the target going to be taking care of business if their adult disabled person is under siege 24/7? The moment they get on the phone to take care of business, the spells and the triggering and the provocation amps up. How is the target going to be focusing in certain situations? Again, if the target's disabled children or adult that they care for is constantly being fucked in their sleep, waking up with shit in their pants that's not otherwise something that would be happening, peeing on themselves, having nightmares daily, needing to deal with that and address that. Therapy is useless because therapy, unless you're dealing with specialists and people who understand energy, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Not as it pertains to this. They know what they're talking about on some basic shit. So they don't have the bandwidth to speak into this. There's no contingency plan. You don't have no safety plan for no crazy ass, twisted ass, nutty ass fucking witches and warlocks, wizards and sorcerers stalking. What's the fucking contingency plan for that? What's the safety plan for people that are stalking? What's the safety plan? They're not stupid. They're not going to get too out of pocket because they don't want to get caught up. So there's no safety plan. They're going to continue to do the things hoping to get the results that they're wanting. Until the right people stop being cowards and greedy. Stop being cowards and stop being greedy and stop trying to save face and do the honorable thing. Until enough individuals start to conduct themselves in that way, who knows full well about what's going on. So this is to zap the life. This is how they drain the life out of the target. They also use puppeteer these adult disabled out. So they'll do basically like contention, fight, chaos, and conflict spells on the target and the target disabled children or offspring. They also do that to mess up opportunities because if the child is acting out or the adult is acting out, this is going to create concerns and issues for folks. So no one's going to want to. You see how they're trying to basically affect the life, the quality of life of that disabled person as well as those who take care of them. Basically have them sick and drained to be a source of supply for all of these weirdos. We want your blood, we want this, we want you tired, sick, and oppressed. And a part of how we're going to do it is the harassment and the occult ritual abuse. While the target attempts to build the proper defenses, they are working overtime to try to stop that. Keep them in environments and where it's more and more difficult to possibly take care of themselves properly, to do the things necessary, because your dwelling space is everything. Environment is everything. Restrict their options, restrict their resources, hopefully, blah, 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 blah. They're still doing that. And it is connected for sure to exes of mine and relatives and people that I grew up with. They are some of the main players, or the main individuals who knows 100% about what's going on. And people have been okay with all of this because they are cowardly and they rather it be me and my son than them and theirs. Yes, family, exes, and those that I grew up with that are involved. And they rather lean into the story that the bigger wig corruption is giving them to fashion than what the truth is. They're just crazy. Deny knowing this person. Deny talking to this person. Deny that you are hiding this person, or you're letting somebody hide something at your house, or deny that, and we'll continue to do the things to make these people sick and get them put in hospitals and institutions or jail, and then we won't really have to worry about it. Or we'll just continue to keep them in the merry-go-round of hardships if you continue to just basically lie, and then we won't really have to worry about it, because nobody's gonna believe them, or they're not going to have the necessary support or stability or time and energy to even, because they're in survival mode. So if we can just agree to keep them in that, then you won't have to worry about it. Yes, this is what they tell these folks, and this is what these folks agree with. Yes, these highly honored, highfalutin, yes, they agree to, these Christians. It hasn't even been a month since we've been where we are. And it has already been 5 times that my son had some kind of nightmare and woke up with peeing on himself, or some kind of weird, nasty sex shit was done to him. They tell these employees, the Fusion Center employees, like I said, they just use them. They're puppets. That's all they are. They're just puppets. They tell them, target is outside, target is downstairs, target is moved, get up and go outside, walk over there. Because they know. Somebody's gonna say, how do they know? Because first and foremost, if you investigate the fusion centers, then you'll find out about how it is that they're all able to communicate accordingly. But outside of even just the fusion centers, with the apps and the texting and all that they do to one another, if the target is in a location where they're taking advantage of places that has to be heavily surveilled, it's kind of a hijacking, shortcut, makeshift, slick, and crooked way to get some illegal surveillance under the guise of something that has to be under surveillance. So if the target is in a shelter or a housing kind of facility that has, cameras for monitoring, then the fusion center employees simply report illegally surveilled under the guise of the monitoring for the facilities, and they provide the target is up, that he's walking down the hall, and then that's how then the messages shoot forth. And then if there's a fusion center employee that's in the same facility, then they will message that person to come outside. They would message the person to say something to the target. In some cases, this is how all the stuff is going on, to say something to, and the fusion center employee may not know that they're given information that could be like a word sorcery. In some cases, a psychological buzz, trigger word to trigger something within the target, because they have the knowledge of that stuff. Their employees do not. To their employee, to the fusion center employee, they got a little cool gig, and they get some free stuff. All they got to do is maybe walk outside, go smoke a cigarette, say some phrase to the target, point their car in a certain way, flash their lights, rev up the engine, sit in the car, look at their phone, look at the target. They got them a little cool gig. They don't know that they were given sorcery words. They don't believe in it. They don't know. Hell, the fusion center people, they don't care. Because like I said, they lied to all these people to get them willing to do shit in the first place. They're not going in with no 100% truth. They're going around to this place lying to folks so that folks would be willing. This is a killer. This is a devil worshiper. This is a, they're going to do whatever's matching the neighborhood, the city, the state, the environment, the particular subsect of groups. They're going to give them those things as they provoke the target, and then they're going to twist all the narratives. Oh, they're a bad person. Oh, they're a bad mother. Oh, they're a devil worship. Oh, they're this. Oh, everything but truth. And the worst thing that these people do is provoke and project their mental illness. This is the narratives. This is the great, massive Darbo effect. They go telling the story, but the roles are swapped. They go around telling all of these people as they've abused and terrorized the target. And when the target manifests symptoms of that abuse, then this is how they fashion seeing they're crazy. because most folks are ignorant to these things. They're crazy. They're just stressed out. They're crazy. They're crazy. They made foothold for the devil. That's my favorite. Yeah, the abused. The who made a foothold for the devil is the abuser, not the abusee. They opened up to the devil because the ignorance. Oh, they love ignorant places. That's why they're always trying to fashion. They don't want targets in any place that's real expansive. They love that. This is the bread and butter of these cults. Ignorance. Rev up a bunch of colonized folks, lean into their belief system and their fears, and convince them this person is something that they're not. Convince them the person is what we are, devil incarnate. Walking demons with fancy suits, fancy cars, pretty Bibles and highlighters. Mm-hmm. And as the target is get upset, because listen, this is, I'm telling you why the target's energy is their frequency, their energy, their vibe, why they want so much negativity. Because I mean, you bleed at some point. Ain't nobody, these people couldn't fade it. The ones that's always sitting up there talking about, Musa and Shalom, Ashe, all. And I'm not disrespecting, because I get that if you're legit, but a lot of these folks, they're ignorant to all this stuff, and they don't have a point of reference. So it's, if you don't have the program, you don't script, can't compute like a computer. Windows versus Macintosh, you know what I'm saying? That it ain't nothing. It's not about right or wrong. It's just, it's nigga, it ain't gonna, it's not gonna, can't compute. Operating system. So to them, this is like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? You just got to be positive. But why? But listen, there's truth in the statement, but it's a greater truth that is over the heads of a lot of people. There is truth to that, because it's about, we're talking about vibration and resonance. But this is why they're attempting to affect that. That's the point. Why they want the target to lose everything? Why? People ask the question, why? Yeah, You're wanting something to make sense, just like it doesn't make sense why we have killers in the world. It doesn't make sense. You're never gonna make sense of it. You can sit down and be intelligent and have conversations and all you want. You're never gonna make sense of it, because there's no sense in rhyme and logic to sickness. Why would JonBenet, the 80s young little girl, we have enough stories that should be helping us adult mind people to understand that, yeah, unfortunately some stuff don't make sense, but it doesn't mean that it ain't so. I'm sure that to the rest of society and these people's circles during those times in their lives, some of these people were looking like Joan Cleaver, whoever, all these people, because again, personas. And then when this stuff ends up playing out way too late, then everybody's eyes are budged out and jaws drop, because when it comes out who the real culprit is, or who had it in them to do something sick to their own daughter, to their own. And some of the stories that we see is like, what? Yeah. And some of our cultures have been selling out, man. And well, John Bonet, they're white, but because it's in everything, it's in everything. No discrimination and prejudices, no walk of life exempt. This is harvest. This is loosh. This is energy source. This is people damage controlling. We have so many factors that we just have to accept. But again, people don't know that I dated a famous person. You see how there's so many things that we as a collective of beings, just as a standard, we don't take into account. We think we know everything based on the surface appearance of something. We think we have all the information, all the pertinent information that we need to know. We may not know there's people who have actually dated famous folks, and sometimes that's a factor. Famous don't necessarily equal sound and stabilized upstairs either. Sometimes these people, they are the ones that did the crazy shit to begin. For example, sacrificing their children. Yes, if some folks were to go and ask some questions about when these motherfuckers started getting big, and ask who died first. Ask what unfortunate tragedy and event preceded it. Within their family. That seemed like just a misfortunate accident. Ask about those. Ask. Oh, y'all know what I'm talking about. It ain't uncommon. See, some stuff we just don't believe that it hits the everyday Joe and Josephine Schmo. We don't know that sometimes the everyday Joe and Josephine Schmo had run-ins with famous people, and perhaps they and their children were targeted from the beginning. While we sit and speculate, why would anybody want to stalk them? What's so special about them? Get over your mental illness and insecurity. It ain't about you. What's so special about them? Go to therapy. Work that out. Like, that's a competition. People with these kind of issues trip me out. It's like they want to compete with everything. What's so special? Oh, you want this? You can have this. You want this? You want a destiny swap? This you can have this. You want this? You want fucking competition. What's so special about them? Nobody want this. It ain't something to be coveting. Have some weirdos doing shit to you and your children before you even know what the hell is going on. That ain't nothing to covet. Folks have famous people that have fragile egos that possibly started stalking them. If you're anything like me, you have a social media presence. This became even more prominent when that happened, because most of the targets in these situations was supposed to just stay gone and off the map and just disappear into the night. And they wouldn't have had to worry about their nasty little dirty secrets. They wouldn't have had to worry about, you know what I'm saying, any of that. So that's why bullets was coming at the targets and all kinds of weird shit in their lifetime over the years. That's why opportunities, all of it comes out. And only the target really knows. But the story, the target, and of course those that are, you know, that were involved and those that were paid, like the family members, because they're the main, they're the first betrayers, they're the first ones, they're the first line. They're the first sellouts. Yeah, I'm real and I'm down. I sold out my own fucking kid and grandkid. Yeah, I'm trash. That's what I am. I'm trash. That's what I should have on my t-shirt. So my praise the Lord. Anywho. Yeah, I was sold out and I was doing rituals because I'm an old dusty witch. And been working with these codes since my child and my grandchild were children. But all designed to make it seem like the target is just fickle. The sickest thing in the world that is going on is people abusing folks and then convincing the world that the abused, that there's something wrong with them when they start displaying symptoms of the abuse. Energetic, spiritual, like I said, some of these people getting high off of it. They're trying to get initiated into some stuff. It's the sadist in these individuals, the truth of who they are. Because we're getting to the truth. Their behavior is the truth of who they are. Not their performance shows for you and I and the rest of the world that they're trying to convince that they're these humanitarians, these philanthropists, these God-fearing. They're none of those things. They're human traffickers. And it's as simple as that. Human trafficking does not always involve somebody in a white van snatching up somebody off the street and taking them to some underground fucking shit. We too surface to be such an intelligent species. This is the new age form of human trafficking. Just like this is the new age form of bullying. I'm too cowardly to bully the old-fashioned way. I bully by abusing my power and my resources and my knowledge of occult practice. since I'm sociopathic, I'm concerned about the way I look, so I can't be an in-person physical bully anymore. Because I want to look like I've evolved. I want to look like I actually grew up more than just chronologically. I want to look like that I am now saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, and on fire for the Lord. I want to look like that I am someone who is deep and spiritual. I want to look like somebody who cares for the people so the people can ooh and ah, and I can have a really huge ass picture of myself all over the world. I want to look like so I can't bully the same way. I have to outsource it to mindless monkeys that all I have to do is give them a Walmart gift card and maybe pay their car note. And then have them to report to me, and I'll get that information to my root workers. I'm making them uncomfortable as I speak. Especially those that are on the property. This is the bullying of 2026. This is the new form of bullying. MK Ultra, MK Naomi, psychological warfare tactics, whether or not you believe that that's a thing. We have government, we have military, and we're gullible and ignorant if we believe that they don't have certain tactics that they employ to do the things that they do. And what happens when you have that kind of information in the wrong hands? So call that what you want to call it. Folks stolen from my son and me, and this is not a lie, but once again, and when I say stolen, I'm not referencing something stupid. A pair of shoes, a purse. Not that those things would be cool to steal, but I'm just simply trying to make sure that I make it plain the degree of the theft. Have I had an issue with getting over the fact that I was stolen from? I have, and I haven't at the same time. I showed the world, and I showed all of them, that in spite of that, I can go on, because unlike them, I am not overly attached to the material world. I'm not overly addicted to needing a lot. So I showed them this. That only made them more mad. That only fueled these people's obsession. So this is the problem that I currently hold. I do not have a problem, nor does anyone like myself and these collective of folks have a problem with getting over somebody stole something, even if it is a large something that could have been the make or break. You don't make light of this type of stuff, because those things could have been the very things that prevented harm to these targets and their children. So we should not be out here making light of this stuff. The only reason why some of the targets are in the position is because of that. Things were set up whether people agreed, liked it or not, which is another problem with humans. It was set up this way so that the targets would not have to undergo unnecessary shit as they transcend. Them and their children would have to be subject to unnecessary trash, bullshit. People who benefit off of this bullshit. And want to keep the bullshit going because they benefit from it. But of course, the narratives is, as I said at the beginning of the video, the target is just salty. The target is just stuck. The target just can't get over. No. The target could really care less. That's what's real fascinating about a whole lot of this. The target could care less. As this pertains to, people that may be trying to lean into, the target being upset about a lover and stuff. Oh God, please. They ain't karmic. They grew out of it. Yeah. It's like, bitch, please. We got a bigger picture, right? Nobody trying. I'm not kidding. They salty. We ain't in high school. We don't want folks who don't want us, baby. That's what makes us different than the karmics. We heal, evolve through those vibrations as we continue to work on ourselves. We realize we come to the so-called what? Enlightenment. Eureka, bitch. He's just not there. Move on. Shit. Move on. Life goes on. Hello. It hurts. Yes. Well, but life goes on. Move on. It's okay. You breathing still. You still here. And honey, they ain't the last thing, baby. Come on. We don't care that they fucked all the relatives. Like, because all this stuff... Oof. Uh-oh. All this stuff is designed to break the heart and the spirit of the target. That's what this is. Ooh, they fucked... and that's skank nasty, and we over it. Even working with the target's relatives and stuff like that, that's all designed because these are betrayals, manufactured betrayal to affect the vibration and frequency of the target and the target's children. To create shock into their system. The world don't know about shock. They don't know because they're too lazy to know for the most part, or too tired because woo-wee. Why they always telling people to do a bait and switch? Oh, go pick them up. Like, this shit is so fucking transparent. It don't make no sense at this point. E and her crew. Oh, go pick them up and tell them that we have you get them in the car, say, oh, well, we thought that they had a space. They keep trying to create shock. Up and down, up and down. That's intentional. Sell the target false hope and then switch it up, bait and switch, and then act like it's miscommunication. Or ignore, like business people that, should be communicative. Continuing to affect what? Because we're talking psychology now. Now we're talking mental health. See, and a lot of these, I'm going somewhere. We're talking psychology now. We're talking mental health. All of these things to affect the sense of feeling safe and secure. That's why some people shouldn't even be in certain industries at all. Because all these things are factors. Is conditions conducive? Are we assisting to foster that sense of feeling safe and secure via our behavior as well? Or are we not? Okay, being negligent, ignoring, that doesn't really foster any kind of sense of security or trust whatsoever. Is that intentional? So are we really advocates for mental health? Or are we only advocates for mental health with those that we like and prefer? So then are we now bullies by wanting to create emotional and psychological problems and unrest for those that we don't like? While we simultaneously have big posters and flyers for the people. These industries get tainted and infiltrated by people that ain't right. You know how they say one bad apple? Just like on the target side, on the side of the people who be needing services and needing assistance and find themselves in these situations, and they end up maybe suffering stuff because it was one bad apple that they, the saying, one bad apple ruined it, for the legit people that's coming in. It's like, I'm not here to hustle. I'm in a legit situation, bitch. It's like, but because of it, there's this tendency, then you get the over scrutiny and the misjudgments and all these other things that ends up happening because of one bad apple. It's a classic saying. Well, likewise, in these systems, all it takes is one snake to ruin your company. You only need one to fuck up your whole shit. To mess up the reputation of what could have otherwise been something beautiful. You only need one greedy son of a bitch with an agenda to take down your enterprise. Just one. And like wildfire, it spreads and becomes a thing, just like there becomes a thing with people who are in situations. They get typecasted and stereotyped. As people who are just looking for a handout. Always look for a handout. They get typecasted, stereotyped as someone lazy, as someone fickle, lacking direction. They get typecasted, stereotyped, because it was somebody who, it wasn't nothing legit. They just have this addiction to always looking for a free ride, or they just don't want, to apply themselves, or they just, that is that one person. So now everybody who is seeking assistance must be like that. It was the one nut that came in, so now all people who are in this situation must be crazy, because this situation, this was a paranoid nut. With all due respect to, because there are situations where that's the case. Where none of what they claim, it ain't funny, but I'm just saying, I get that. Like, there are cases where it's like, no, the person is they crazy. It's not happening. None of that is happening. So, in other words, it's in their mind, but it's not happening, if that makes sense. So just because that is a thing, then anyone that's talking about people stalking them is equally crazy. It's in their head. Now, including what the title says on this video, what they're doing to the disabled. These people will cry in front of some of you. This is a part of the problem. I've been talking about this for 4 years plus. This stuff. And some of you out there still is oblivious. These are narcissists that are switching the story around. These people will cry. These are people that's possibly giving your children and other people's children a bunch of stuff. This is a part of why you all are fooled. It's called communal narcissism. That's an actual thing. I didn't make that up. I didn't create that. Research. It's a thing. But it's the behavior of a predator. The predator gets the kid because they bring the kid candy and they lure them into the car. So these folks will cry in front of you all and stand behind podiums and altars and stadiums and wherever else they're doing their shit. And will have tears coming down their eyes. And will proclaim to you all how much they love the target. They will give donations to you, your charity, your business, your organization, your children, to prove how loving and caring they are. They will dedicate social media advocating for the autism of a society. Domestic violence, women, they will have all of these things. Predator behavior, panderer behavior too. Because all this glowing stuff of the very population in which they abuse and hurt. And it's to throw people off the track, because you're not likely to believe that people that's got all these, saying all these things about women on their social media could be an abuser. Or that's doing all of these wonderful things, that's got a reputation of doing all of this wonderful stuff. You're not likely to believe that they're actually an abuser, a predator, a panderer, or exploitatory in nature. You, me, no one is likely to believe it on the surface, because it's a match. They have this glowing reputation. They've given all of this money. They have all these people vying for their reputation, because these are people that they purchased, even if the people don't know that they've been purchased with all the flattery and the gifts. So most of us is going to automatically think that anybody that is claiming that these folks have done stuff, that is something wrong with them. Let's create a narrative on this person. Let's exploit their situation. Let's help foster that situation, so no one will really actually take them seriously. No one. It's a part of why they do what they do for so very long. The reason why they had a problem with me being successful is, in part, that's the reason. Because it wasn't, they were okay as long as I was in isolation. As long as I was in some kind of country bumpkin ass location where ain't shit. It just got one stove, bitch. You got one. Oh, I ain't gonna never forget. They were okay with it then, because what the fuck, you know, it's contained, basically. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't as concerning. It was concerning, but it wasn't as concerning. They became concerned when I started branching out, where it's like, okay, they're gonna get, okay, we gotta amp up here. Because they knew, they know that the more exposure, that's why they're always trying to get targets cornered into little small areas. small or isolated. That's typically what they do. Small or isolated areas where there's, so that they can do their deal, hopefully get the job done really quickly, and blah 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 blah. Limit the person. So this is why they then act that up and start to sabotage it behind the scene. Because then their stories aren't true. One day there's going to be people who hear all these videos and the light bulbs are going to suddenly come on. Because then all of their narratives and stories aren't sitting anymore. This person is stabilizing. This person is taking care of them and their children. This person is, they happy, This is why they don't like seeing their target happy. This is why you're going to get a lot of the shit when, especially, oh my God, you would think it's the end time apocalypse, bitch. Every time the target's presence, their true essence, they're in their own energy and they're showing up and enjoying themselves, you would think somebody killed somebody the way these motherfuckers get to going. The way these lizards show up. And these conjurers and stuff. You would think that something massive must be wrong how they behave. This is why they attack the health, the well-being, the happiness, the appearance, all of these things. Because they need to look like they're correct. They need to look like the target is wrong, the target is cursed, the target is being punished, the target is away. They need this so badly. As they attempt to play God themselves. It's time there are folks that don't even really know who they are. This is what I'm saying. Our ignorance is killing some of us out there. Our willful ignorance, our ignorance out of laziness and convenience, any and everything in between. There are some of us, especially as you get to the older generation, okay, because I'm 50, so I'm going to say the 50s, those who are, 50 and older. Some of us, we are clueless. We might not even be who we think we are. And I'm not talking about in terms of like who you think you are as your essence and your, who you've grown to be and have chosen to be. And I'm not talking about that stuff type thing. I'm talking about we were lied to from the beginning, and it was easy to do the older you are. Because the technological age it brings in the challenge. It still can be done because all you need is money to pay off a bitch and a nigga, okay? But it was easier the older the generation because we did not have that, especially if you were poor or if your people were poor. Okay, so that means you was born at Killer King, or you were born, you see what I'm saying? In some Dominguez Valley, you know what I'm saying? Hospital and shit, Long Beach community. It was easy to do. And it was easy. And some of us may, before we expire or evaporate to our next phase. I don't know. We may find the proof of that. That explains what our life was and how it's been and why certain things happen. Because some of us, unfortunately, that's a part of what's going on for some of us. We wasn't supposed to know, or we wasn't supposed to live to a certain age, and then people get weird, man. Even though shit be eons and a trillion years ago, people be weird. They be worrying about what they always been worried about: money. Worrying that somebody finna come take their little shit. Leave my life alone. You can have your shit. Sacrifice you so that they can become. You see what I'm saying? Or worried about the truth coming out again. People get weird. It's like, dude, that's that sociopathic shit. Dude, you had an upset. You know what I'm saying? People need to really get over some of this shit. Some of this shit is like, come on, ain't nobody, people ain't stupid anyway. Get over it. People have affairs. This is what? This is life. Nobody's exempt. People fuck around. You young, you know what I'm saying? Whoa. It happens. Folks have illegitimate children all over the world. I'm just saying, it happens. I don't know why this is like it happens. Especially in the industries. Especially them. It's common, play with that with your own mind. If you was somebody that, what they call them, groupies and shit, or, groupies, freak parties, why are we acting brand new? It happens. But unfortunately, some of us suffered, because of other people's actions and choices. That's that objectification. That's how these people objectify you, dehumanize you. Your existence and your children's existence is a threat to their reputation. Because of their choice, not because something you did. Because they had an affair and got a pregnancy, or because they wanted to do a sacrifice to an entity so that they could be famous, but they didn't know who we. Let me get out of there. I'm way off now. I'm off on another subject. They didn't know who you were. Or something like that. And it shouldn't even matter, to tell the truth. It shouldn't have mattered. I'm inclined to feel and believe that people shouldn't have to be something special for people to be just a base decent bitch. That's what bugs me about humanity. It's like, why a bitch got to be something special, or do got to be something special for a motherfucker to feel like they shouldn't do nothing crazy and harmful to them, and and still do it anyway. It's like, whatever happened to you, just be decent. They shouldn't have to be the queen of Zamunda. Even though it is treason and assassination and stuff when you get up to these levels, I get that. But the point that I'm making, it shouldn't matter. The fact that humans need that, it scares me. I think it's scary. And it's even more scary the fact that they can't even still manage to make themselves behave properly even under those circumstances. It's even scarier. It's like, still can't manage to not do it even when you know this person is the queen of Zamunda. Scary. So what's governing all these people is the question of the hour. What's really governing them for real? Not what they're telling you and me, not what it appears to be. What's really governing them? Why are they doing those hand gestures and mudras and signals? Are they human? Are they part human? Are they lizards? God, I don't know. What are they connected? What's governing them? What's really governing them? What's got their mind hijacked? Because a lot of these people are convinced, as I've been saying, a lot of these people are convinced they're oblivious to their own conduct and behavior. They're convinced that what they're doing is right. That's scary to me too. That's why I know that there's something wrong. That's why I know, because like, that's scary to actually be operating in a consciousness where you are convinced yourself, for whatever your reason is, that hurting, doing certain things to disable people, vulnerable populations, single parents, like whether it's under the guise of a religious statute or whatever, like, that's, to me, that's scary. That's a cause for reflection. Because to be convinced, that's meaning that something is disconnecting in the consciousness, the brain, and all of that. Science talks about this, y'all. I'm not, this ain't my own shit. It is said that if a narcissistic person or someone who is displaying characteristic traits of such strongly, that when their brain is looked at and studied, they don't light up. The place that's supposed to light up for empathy, it doesn't. So, and this is involuntary. These are the things that are supposed to be involuntary. So it's not a matter of me just sitting down and going, okay, no, it's not there. Which is why they can be abusive and callous. But I am inclined to believe that colonization and long stem abuse created a lot of narcs, which are now the monkeys for the powers that be. because they're disconnected. This has been systemically created in their genetics. So their brain has been messed up. Oh, shit. And they don't even fucking know it. But these types of folks are good little worker bees because they do lack the empathy. These types of folks are good at obsessing, good at because of the disconnect. To me, that's what's scary. It's like, wow, that doesn't light up, but it also explains why this is an epidemic. Why they can go to town on these disabled people and then smile at you from across the table at Starbucks. Like they not doing nothing wrong. And then after they leave from you at Starbucks, them and 8 people getting in cars, following around these disabled people and their caretakers. Snickering and snarling and laughing after they just sat across the table with you, talking about how much they care for the disabled community. After they said what you talk about Jesus for 4 hours. As they sat across the table from you doing a Bible study, and she's beautiful and wonderful, and he's the man of wisdom, and all these little cute, as they sit with you. And as they talk with you, they looking down at their phone, texting their fusion center employees, their monkeys, their hired hunters. As at your child even, oh, he's so cute. She's so cute. Oh, how adorable. Here, can I give them this? Oh. And you sitting there eating it up. They do not care about the disabled community. Oh! My son is funny. It's look in the 2 bags if it's not in the suitcases. Had to get them. Had to change clothes due to, again, these weirdos. And just the environment too. You know, some of the stuff I don't want to get too off into some of the things I've been learning about in terms of environment and things that can be attached in places and on top of what people be doing. You see what I'm saying? So, anywho. They do not care about the disabled community. In fact, they look at them as an energy source. They feel like the disabled community's energy would be better used for them and their purposes. because they've deemed them a weak link or an invalid. Ironically enough, they need the weak links and invalids energy. Isn't that funny? It's a purity of energy. That's why, just like the reason why they target children, it's the same difference. Because they not convoluted the way we end up convoluting. They ain't out here fucking everybody in the Americas. They ain't drinking their liver and kidneys into oblivion. It's pure energy source. They don't mean no harm to no one, so their essence, their consciousness. They're not perfect. They end up developing issues due to the abuse. They end up, people sending entities to them doing shit and shit stepping on them due to what's been violated on them. But the essence of them are pure. And that's why these people vie for their energy. These vampire bitches that I'm going to make sure them heads get dealt with. These vampires, I don't want to get too deep into that. We can say energy vampires, whatever you want to call it. Whatever you want to call it. They do not care. In fact, the more these people are triggered and provoked, the more money these people make. This is why they're also doing it. So this is why they tell their fusion center, crackhead number 1, county office, you and your little hollering baby walk around in circles in front of them. And this is stuff that's just hard for people to swallow and believe, but it doesn't mean that it's not so. When there's an agenda, there's an agenda. And just because we can't fathom that it exists, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Some of these people that's pretending to not fathom that it exists they're pretending because that's a part of their cover. So they'll sit there and say things like, oh, well, wow, you really seem to be, it'll be very flat and kind of disconnected. Because they know. It's called corruption for a reason, people. It's called secret for a reason. Otherwise, it would be just known to the world. Shit. Easily known, readily known, easily seen. It's corrupt for the fact that it is secret and it's something that is hidden. Sometimes corruption is that way. Sometimes corruption is not obvious. Corruption that is obvious is easy to address and deal with. You catch somebody robbing a bank and you see them and you're a cop and you're there, and if you have the means to do so, it's easy for you to take your ass in there and handle it because it is in front of you. But there's more corruption that is not seen than it is that is seen. And that's the stuff that's concerning. Sure, it's concerning to see somebody rob a bank or literally see somebody like rob an old lady on the street. Those things are concerning. Not saying that they're not concerning, but I'm also saying that they're easily seen and that you can remedy that. You can remedy that. You can touch that easily and readily. It's the unseen corruption. And the exploitation of these vulnerable populations is something that needs to be worldwide exposed. What they're doing to disabled people is sickening. So that they can have a Tesla. Human trafficking. So they can be a fat cat and not have to ever have any real talent of their own or do anything legitimate outside of exploiting someone else's talent. Human trafficking. Coercive control tactics is still human trafficking. Just because somebody didn't come pick us up and tie us with a rope in the physical doesn't mean it ain't human trafficking. And I said what I said.